construct linear functions. So most of this we've already talked about. So a linear function, that means it's a line, and it either has the form of y equals mx or y equals mx plus b. Okay, it's a straight line, has the slope of m, which is the same as saying the rate of change. Okay, and in order for it to be a linear relationship, it has to be the same or constant the whole time. Then we have the y-intercept b that we've already talked about. That's where it hits the y-axis. And this is also considered the initial value. Okay, that's when x is equal to 0. So anytime x is equal to 0, it's going to be along the y-axis. Anytime that x is equal to 0, it's going to be along the y-axis. So the starting point, or the initial value, is your y-intercept. This is the same thing as the y-intercept. Okay, it is the 0.01. The rate of change, remember, is how many times we go up and how many times we go over when we're looking at a graph. It is always the change in y over the change in x in order to find the slope, which is the same thing as the rate of change. Okay. So you can construct a linear function from a graph by determining the rate of change, or slope, and the initial value, or y-intercept b, then writing it in the form y equals mx plus b. So how much did we go up? Now some of you are like, we went up 3. But if you look over here, you have to look at the numbers that it went through. It went from 400 to 700. That means it went up 300. It didn't go up 3 lines, but it went up 300. And then we have to look at how far across did it go. Well, looking down here, it went from here to here. Oops, sorry, one more. From here to here. So that means we added 4. So that means our slope, remember that it's the change in y. So change in y is this stuff right here. So it's talking about money. So it changed $300. And then it's over the change in x. That's these numbers down here, and it's talking about months, in 4 months. So if you were to use your calculator and take 300 and divide that by 4, you would get $75 per 1 month. So $75 per 1 month. The initial cost, that is where it starts off at. Where did it start? It started at 100. So if I was to put this in y equals mx plus b form, the slope came from right here and it goes right there. The y-intercept came from right there, so it goes as the constant. Okay, so we're going to look at this. A shoe store offers free points when you sign up for their rewards card. Then, for each pair of shoes purchased, you earn an additional number of points. The graph shows the total points earned for several pairs of shoes. So if we start off, let's start off with where we initially start. I'm going out of order from them. Our initial amount. So our B value is going to be 30 because that is our initial amount. That's where we're starting off at. If I'm going to look at the slope, how far up did it go? It went from 30 to 60. So that's 30. From here to here, how far over did it go? It went over 2. So when I'm talking about slope or rate of change, I'm talking about the change in y, which was 30, over the change in x, which is 2. So I also want to add on, the change in y is called 30 points earned. And the 2, the change in x, is talking of pairs of shoes purchased. Okay? So if I was to simplify that fraction, I would get 15 points earned per pair of shoes purchased. Okay. So if I was going to write the equation, I would write the equation as y equals 15x plus 30. Let's look at over here what they did. Look at this. They got 15 over 1, so that means 15. Then they went the y-intercept. So when x was equal to 0, we found x equals to 0. The b value was 30. So look at that. That's what they got too. So if I plugged in my information, I would get 15x plus 30, which is the same thing we got. So now we're going to do this one. A conference center charges an initial deposit plus an hourly rate. Plus, remember, addition. An hourly rate. So a rate. Oops, for some reason that disappeared. For renting the space for an event or party. The total cost for the different number of hours, including the deposit, is shown in the graph. Okay? So we're supposed to find and interpret the rate of change. So let's start there. Okay. So this goes up. How much? That went up 50. How far across did it go? It went over 2. So that means we have 50, and it's total cost for the 50. So 50 over 2 what? 2 hours. So I simplify that and I get $25 per hour. Okay. So that means for 1 hour, this goes down 25. So from here to here is 1 hour, right? So that means going down right here, you would go down 25. So 100 minus 25, that would get me 75 right there. Okay? So it's $75. And what was the initial talking about? It's a deposit. An initial deposit. So $75 for the deposit. Okay, and then you want to write an equation. So y equals the rate of change, which is 25, and the initial value, which is $75 for the deposit. Okay. To construct a linear function from a table of values, you need to determine the rate of change in the initial value. Then write the equation of the function in y equals mx plus b. Okay, so we do the same thing we did before. Okay? Okay, it says the table shows the relationship between the cost of an amusement park membership and the number of months. So from here to here, we add 15, add 15, add 15. This went up 1. Oops, I'm supposed to do it in this color. Went up 1, went up 1, went up 1. So if we look at that, the change, the slope is 15 over 1, which is 15. What does that 15 means? It means $15 per month. Okay, y-intercept. Now if we look at this, we're starting at 1. We need to start at 0. We need this to be 0 over here. So we went back 1. So 0 plus 1 gets the 1. Now we need to go backwards over here. So we subtract 15. So 35 minus 15 will get us 20. So, our B value is at the point 0.20. So what does that 20 mean? It means it's $20 for the park membership. Can't spell member today. Okay, so then I need to come up with an equation. Y equals, it's $15 per month, so that's 15x, and the membership is $20. So Y equals 15x plus 20. Yeah, okay, so our table shows how much money Ava has saved. Assume the relationship between the two quantities is linear. Find and interpret the rate of change in the initial value, then write the equation. Okay. So right here, I'm going up by 20, up by 20, up by 20. Awesome. Over here, up by 1, up by 1, up by 1. So my slope for this, my rate of change is 20 over 1, which that stands for $20 per month. Then I need to find, I'm going to go backwards. I'm going to just make my T-chart a little bit bigger. So I'm going to go backwards. So I'm going to go back to 2, back to 1, back to 0. So on this side, I need this to be a plus 20, plus 20, plus 20. So what plus 20 gets 110? 90 plus 20 gets 110. What plus 20 gets 90? 70. What plus 20 gets 70? That would be 50. So this right here is my y-intercept. So my y-intercept is the point 0, 50. And what does that stand for? That stands for the amount of money she has saved. Okay, so now I'm going to write an equation. Y equals 20x plus 50. Now, I'm going to teach you a different way as to how you can find without having to do going backwards like this. We know that our equation is y equals mx plus b. We know that our slope is 20. What we can do is we can pick a point. So I'm going to pick this point right here. So I'm going to pick the point 3, 1, oops. 110, and the slope is 20, so that we can find our b value. So I'm going to replace the y. I'm going to replace the y with 110. I'm going to replace the m right here with 20. I'm going to replace the x with the 3. And then we're going to have plus b. So if I was to do this problem, I would have 110 equals 60 plus b, subtract 60 from both sides, and I get 50 is equal to b. Let's go ahead and go back and do this problem like that too, just so that you can see me do it another way. Okay, so we're going to use the point 1, we'll come over here. We'll use the point 135. We'll use the slope that we were given as 15. Okay, we have the equation y equals mx plus b. Okay, we're going to replace the y with 35. We're going to replace the x with 15, the m with 15. We're going to replace the x with 1 so that we can find the b value. So 35, oops, I didn't mean to write in that color. 35 equals 15 plus b. If I subtract 15 from both sides, I get 20 is equal to b. Is that what we found it to be over here? That is what we found. So either way will work. Sometimes your numbers get way too big, and so you can't do it the other way. So here we go. Rate of change. This is going to go up by 15, up by 15, up by 15. Over here, this is going to be up by 1, up by 1, up by 1. Oh, I didn't even read the question. The table shows the cost of smartphone plan based on the data per month. Assume that the relationship between the two quantities is linear. Okay, so my slope is 15 over 1. So that means that it costs $15 per gigabyte of data. Okay. Then it wants us to find and interpret the initial value. Y equals mx plus b. We just found m to equal 15. Now we need to pick one of the points. I don't care which point. I like to just use the first one. So I'm going to use this point right here. I am going to replace my y. I don't want that color. I'm going to replace my y with 50. I'm going to replace my m with 15. I'm going to replace my my x with 2. And we're going to find b. So 50 equals 30 plus b. Subtract the 30 from both sides, and I find that b is equal to 20. What does that mean? It means $20 for the phone plan. Okay, now I'm going to put it in y equals mx plus b form. I'm going to replace the m with 15. I'm going to replace the b with 20. And there we have our equation of the line. Okay. You can write the linear equation of a function in the form y equals mx plus b by determining the rate and the initial value from the description on the linear relationship Rate of change is the slope. The initial value is b. Okay, an instructor charges an initial fee. Okay, so it already tells us, undo that, an initial fee plus $30 per hour. Okay, and we like that word per for lessons. Okay. So, what is the rate of change? Okay, so the rate of change is $30 per hour. Find the initial value. Well, if I look at this, for that was horrible. It says 6 hours cost this much. 6 hours cost $205. And our slope is equal to 30. So this is an x, this is a y, and I can plug it in. I'm just going to do it over here. Y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to take my y, I'm going to put 205. I'm going to take my m, which is 30, and my x, and we're going to find plus b. So when I multiply this out, I get 205 equals 180. Oh, come on. Plus b. I'm going to subtract 180 from both sides. That'll get me 5. That'll get me 2. This will get me equals b. So 25 equals b. So that's my y-intercept. So that means the initial fee is $25. Okay. So if I find this right here, my slope was 30. My y-intercept was 25. Okay, Joan plans to add 12 photos to her photo album each week. Okay, so each week. So that gives me my slope. So my slope, we already know, is 12. After 8 weeks, there are 120 photos in the album. So we're doing weeks, photos. So there are 8 weeks. There are 120 photos. So I plug it into my y equals mx plus b. So plug it in. Plug it in. Plug it in. Oops, sorry. And plus b. So 120 equals 96 plus b. I subtract 96 from both sides. And I get, that's a 4. That's 24 is equal to b. Okay. So my equation is going to be y equals 12x plus 24. Down here, Julie is tracking the growth of a plant for a science project. The height of the plant on the second day she measured was 8 inches. On the 7th day, it was 20.5 inches. Assume the relationship is linear. Okay, so what we don't actually have a rate here. We have 2 days, 8 inches. We have 7 days, we have 20.5 inches. So we need to find the slope. So I subtract 8 minus 20.5 over 2 minus 7. So when I do that, yeah, I just want to make sure. Yep, negative 12.5 over negative 5. And I'm going to get 2.5, and that's going to be inches per day. Okay, so find and interpret the initial value. So y equals mx plus b. And I'm going to use this point right here. So my y value is 8. My m value is 2.5. My x value is 2 plus b. So 8 equals 5 plus b. Subtract the 5, 3. So 3 inches on the, let's see. Three inches on, I don't want to say on the, 3 inches tall when the project started. Okay, so what was my my m value? 2.5. My b value was 3. Okay, Rosa wants to buy a motor scooter. The graph shown shows information about the 2 different scooters. Assuming the pattern continues, what will be the difference in the values of the 2 scooters when they are 8 years old? Okay, so we're going to find, okay, so BX10, come over here, BX10. So that, we're going to start with this one right here. So we're going to find the slope for it. So this goes, it goes down from 720 to 640. So that goes down 80. How far across does it go? That goes across 1. So the slope for this one, BX10, is negative 80 over 1, which is negative 80. Then the y-intercept, it could be 880. Yeah, it looks like it's 880. So that is y equals negative 80x plus 880. Then, if I look at the other one, how far down did it go? Oh, that's not a very pretty point. We can't use that one. We need pretty points. This one down to here. So it went from 640 down to 400. So that's 240. And it went across 2. So jet rider. Its slope is equal to negative 240 over 2, which is negative 120. But I can't tell where the y-intercept is, so I'm going to use a point. I'm going to go ahead and use this point right here that is 5,400. I'm going to use that point right there, which is 5,400. And I'm going to put an into y equals mx plus b. So I'm going to replace my y with 400. I'm going to replace my b, or my m with negative 120, my x with 5, and I'm going to find b. So 400 equals 0, 0, negative 600 plus b. I'm going to add 600. That'll get me 1,000 is equal to b. So the equation for this is y equals negative 120x plus 1,000. Okay, so that's the first part of what it's saying. Then the second part wants to know when it's 8 years old. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this 8 right here, and we're going to plug it in for this x here, and we're going to plug it in for this x right here. So over here, we're going to do maybe y equals negative 80, and then we're going to plug in the 8 plus 880. So that's going to get us negative 640 plus 880. If I subtract that, I get 0 for 240. So it's $240. And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to replace this x with 8. And I get 0, 6, 8, 9, 6. Oh, that was easy. And that's going to be $40. So it says, assuming the pattern continues, what will be the difference in the values of the two scooters when they are 8 years old? So it wants to know the difference between them. So I'm going to take 240. I'm going to subtract 40. And so the difference between them is $200.